Hey, welcome everybody back. Marshall Ramsey, editor-at-large of Mississippi Today. I guess this is our fifth Mississippi stories, but this is one that's kind of close to my heart because I get to talk to a friend of mine don't get to see enough of these days because she's incredibly busy and successful. You probably have seen her not only selling cars, but also doing stand-up or uh, just all over the place. You might hear her songs. The new one is Raised in the Sip, which you can get, I saw on Apple Music, or actually I listened to on Apple Music. But I got to tell everybody, our relationship is we're friends because for many years she had to put up with me once a week as she produced my show on Mississippi Public Broadcasting. And I was very, very lucky. I wouldn't say I had a front row seat to the budding part of her success, but I probably was at least on the fourth or fifth row. And it was a damn fine view, I might admit. So I'm very happy to have Rita Brent with us today. Rita, number one,
Thank you
congratulations.
for having me.
Man, and
Thank you.
thanks for taking the time because I know that you have been on the road today. So I know how fresh and refreshed you feel after 6 hours in a car.
I know 6 hours can feel like end up feeling like 12 when you're just a wee bit sleepy. We left at
Oh,
5 a.m. and then there was some sunlight after a while before a minute there.
yeah,
If
five
it
hour.
weren't for those little
Yeah.
if it weren't for those things, I don't know what I'd do. If it weren't for
Oh,
the
thank God for the rumble strips. Oh yeah, we're having this
yes,
conversation right now because of rumble strips. You know
yes.
the worst is not when you fall asleep, but when you like just start dreaming instantly. You don't even fall asleep. You just suddenly you start having weird dreams, and then you hear that rumble strip, and you're like, okay,
What
well, thank you,
What's
Clarence.
the name of that bridge where you go over New Orleans to get to Jackson? It's a long bridge. Is it
Oh yeah,
Pontchartrain?
yeah, something like that. It's well, there's two of
Yeah,
them. There's one of them on both sides, but there's one that's like, yeah, I know what you're talking
like
about.
20 something miles long. And I was dozing off
Oh
on that one.
yeah,
And I saw a whole family. I just imagined a whole family. That's how sleepy I was. I was like, I had somebody in the car with me. I was like, hey, do you see that family sitting on that couch on the side of the road? She was like, no. I was like, we probably should pull over. I'm hallucinating.
so was it like a good-looking family? I mean, was it like the
Yeah, that's the weird part. I'm like,
okay,
well, yeah,
that's
clearly they just are taking a walk.
right? Of
So
course, hanging out on that
yeah,
bridge, 26 miles. I know which one you're talking about.
right.
That's one of those. If you're like afraid of bridges and you get on that thing,
hmm
yeah,
Like
you're
my mom, she's afraid of bridges.
no way.
So there's that.
There's a
Yeah.
couple of them in Lake Charles she needs to try too because they're really tall.
Right. I know which one you're talking about. She'll hyperventilate going over the bridge where the reservoir is. The
Oh yeah,
spillway. She'll hyperventilate going over that if she looks at the water.
yeah,
Yes, just don't look. Just look straight ahead.
yeah. Just close your eyes while you're driving.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
doesn't.
that'll work.
Good. You're in Atlanta now. You've been doing some filming
hmm
over there. Are you living in Atlanta now, or are you just because I mean, you were in New York for a while,
Yes.
and then one day I'm out on a pandemic walk in the neighborhood, and then suddenly you and Phoenix pop up. I'm like, okay, I thought you.
Right. Yeah, the pandemic pushed us out of New York. We were there for a year straight up.
Yeah,
And when it was time to renew the lease, we just decided that it would not be financially feasible. Before the pandemic, all was well. I was performing on Broadway, things were going well, and I was starting to make a little noise. And then the pandemic hit and everything just shut down. I mean, even to this day, primarily the only comedy that's happening is outside, and that's
yeah.
that's no fun doing
Well, I mean, it's all live
comedy.
events have been completely. I mean, I do a lot of speaking, and I've spoken 3 times in the last year, and
hmm
was terrified 2 of them because I just like I'm going to get the COVID, because I'm old.
Yes,
You're not so old. You don't have to worry about these things, but
but I'm black.
that, you know, you're
So
right.
there's that.
Yeah, you got that.
And COVID doesn't like us,
That's
apparently.
what,
I'm like, man, even the disease is racist. Good God, when are we gonna get a break?
no kidding, no kidding. Yeah, I know. No, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, you're right. Well, doesn't like me because I'm old too. So apparently it's ageist too. So that doesn't help. Also,
There we go. Yeah, so I am in Atlanta, and I love it. I love it. It's an upgrade from Jackson, especially dealing with traffic. Being home makes me just so grateful that we don't have to deal with traffic like that because this traffic in Atlanta is stressing me out.
yeah.
I'm not
What
gonna
part of
lie.
town are you in? I grew up in Marietta, which was northwest, and I learned to
Okay.
drive over there. So that explains a lot about my personality.
Yeah, I'm in Sandy Springs,
Okay.
which is apparently equivalent to Madison. I don't know. Whenever I say I'm in Sandy Springs, people are, oh, you got money. I'm like, huh? No, 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 no. We just wanted to be comfortable in our apartment. But it's a blessing because in New York we were paying $2,100 for a 700 square foot apartment, one bedroom, one bath. It didn't come with any amenities. There wasn't a Bible in the drawer when we got there. But we get here to Atlanta, two bedroom, two bath, and we're paying significantly less than that. So I am a happy camper. I loved New York. The diversity was amazing. But it just feels good to be back down south and to be close to home because both my wife and our families are in Mississippi. So
Yeah.
it feels much better to be a 6 hour drive away.
How's she doing? I mean, is she adjusting too? 'Cause she's so stinking talented as an artist.
Mm. Yes, she's mainly doing commissions, like portraiture or portraits, whatever, however you say it. She's doing some virtual stuff. She did like a virtual vision board paint party on Zoom, and that was cool. She and I did a Valentine's thing. It was called Paint, Love, and Laugh with Rita and Frida. We had started a podcast during the pandemic. So the catch is my wife got her master's of fine arts right before the pandemic, and she was thinking by this time she's going to be at somebody's university teaching, and that's not the case. So she's primarily doing commissions, and I'm at a big advantage because I ask her to do stuff, and I'm like, I buy the groceries, so do I really have to pay for this work I'm
Oh,
asking you
no,
for
no, no, no,
if I
no.
buy the
Let me
groceries?
just warn you right now. I tried that for about 3 seconds on Amy one time. No,
Uh-huh.
no.
So you still have to pay your wife for the work.
Well, I mean, yes and no, but it just depends.
Okay.
Well, the what she
Depends
doesn't.
on what it is.
Well, she doesn't do any artwork for me. I can tell you that.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so that's the thing. So if you were me, we're in the same house, and I'm like, hey, you just sitting on the couch. Can you do this artwork for me? But I'll be honest. I do commission her. I
okay,
will pay. I will pay.
okay.
I try to put a little separation in between that. But yeah,
Always
so
value,
she's
always value your spouse. That's the only advice I'll give you after
that's
400
right.
years of marriage.
Yes, that's a good Facebook status to put up or a tweet.
Yeah, well, let's do that
Yeah,
right now. So.
yeah, yeah. I'll write it down.
Well, the good thing is, I mean, you literally have proved if you can make it anywhere, you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. You did New York, you made it. It's
Hmm.
not your fault there's a pandemic that shut down basically your profession. But you
Hmm.
did land in a place where it is hopping. There is a great culture there, an entertainment culture there. And so there is
Yes.
a lot of different work and jobs. So you've been staying pretty busy, haven't you?
Yes, but believe it or not, most of my jobs have been virtual. Since last March, I've done about 60 or 70 virtual gigs. And when I say virtual gigs, I mean Zoom shows where I'm doing comedy on Zoom. I didn't realize it until I just kind of took inventory, and I was like, wow, I'm at like 60 or 70 shows sitting here in the office telling jokes, which is not super fun, because some people don't know how to use the mute, and they'll be unmuted, and they're whipping their children. Or a couple times there was, I kid you not, there was a couple older guys talking about porno and how he's like, hey man, you need to take that off your computer. You're gonna get a virus. And I was like, yeah, you get multiple viruses if you into that world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been doing a lot of virtual stuff, and that has opened up a whole new world for me that I didn't know existed. And to be honest, I prefer it. I probably wore pants 2 out of 80 of those gigs.
Hey, I'm wearing shorts right now. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah, I have my little heater on, house shoes.
Okay,
As
now
long
this
as
is
you,
this is the other thing too. I think people need to know this. When we were in the radio together, I'd be in the studio and it'd be fairly, it'd be kind of comfortable. I'd go into the producer's room and you had like this little space heater. It was like a terrarium. I expected like there to be a turtle in there. You were the coldest human being on the history of the planet.
I think I've been like this my whole life. I have low iron. I struggle with iron, so I think that has something to do with it. I'm borderline anemic or something. But yeah, I don't like being cold.
Yeah.
I had honestly, I haven't done a whole lot in Atlanta because I'm waiting for it to warm up. That's my time. I don't know which animal I align with, but I don't believe in being out during the winter. That's not my season.
Apparently something that's cold blooded. I'm not saying you're cold blooded. I'm just saying something that requires the warmth.
What?
Were you
That's fine.
Yeah, were you okay? Yeah, this interview's going downhill real fast here. Okay. Were you here during all the ice and snow in Mississippi, or were you over there?
No, I was over here in Atlanta in shock. My mom was sending
Yeah,
me pictures from Madison, and I just couldn't believe it. And she's like, it's not snow, it's ice. I was like, so you can't like go play it? She's like, no, it's ice.
Yeah.
And it's pretty shocking. You know, you just don't expect Mississippi to go through something like that. But well, how did you deal with it? Did you go out there and have some fun or
Yeah, we
attempt
did
to?
the
Because I
first day. It was fun the first day because we had like ice and sleet. So it was like
mhm,
really just awesome sledding. But
got you.
then it started freezing over at night. It just became an ice rink. And then we got a freezing rain ice storm, I guess halfway through the week. And at that point
Hmm.
it became the shining at that point, you know. I mean,
So where is this in the Bible? Where are we in the Bible? Because we got a pandemic, ice storms, hurricanes. It's a lot of stuff going on. The climate is declining.
I
What's
think
happening?
frogs. I think raining frogs.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm just trying to figure out what
I'm good
chapter
with
we in.
frogs. I don't think I'm too worried about that, but
Yeah. As I was going through Alabama, I saw a sign that said Jesus is coming. So I'm trying to figure out what chapter we in the Bible.
well they know.
Are they gonna let us know the date? With you know.
Yeah, that's a good thing about Alabama. They get those billboards that kind of let you kind of keep you up on the, you know, the rapture.
Yeah, I wish they put a date on it. They say it coming. I mean, what when? What time?
No, I think
What we need to
that's kind of
wear?
the hook. I think that's how they get you in. I think, but kind of not
Hmm.
giving you the date because they gave you the date, then you would like, well, I'll come join them maybe in 2 weeks when it happens.
Right.
Yeah, but I know what billboard you're talking about. Alabama, yeah, I've made that trip for 25 years. It's a bucket of chuckles. Good
Hmm.
times.
Then on the other side, it's a sign for a billboard for the Dixie store with Confederate flags and stuff. I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah,
but you
we in
stop.
Alabama.
Yeah,
Let me not stop and get gas here. I'm just gonna keep on going.
you know, when I met you, you were still in the Army, Sergeant. Thank you for your service.
Hmm.
You were National Guard. You were a drummer. You were doing gigs at that point. I guess you were just graduating from Jackson State at that point. You grew up in Jackson.
Hmm.
Your mom, who by the way I admire her about as much as anybody. You get
Uh,
your drive from her. You've got to get.
Absolutely,
She's a rock star. Um,
absolutely.
Other than bridge phobias, I can't think of anybody who works any harder and has done more amazing things next to yourself than your mom.
Yeah, me neither. The workaholic part comes from her.
Yeah,
She's the type who doesn't like sleeping. You know, she falls asleep. She doesn't go to sleep intentionally. She falls asleep with a laptop in her lap. But it paid off. She recently finished and got her doctorate degree, and I'm just so proud of her because right when she was getting ready to go to big college, she had me at like 19, 20, and so she put a lot of her goals on the back burner, and she just kept going. You know, she went to bachelor's, master's. She was like, "Well, I'm just gonna get the PhD. You might as well." I said, "You might as well." So she got that, and now she's Dr. Mama. So that has just filled my heart, you know. And it just goes to show you that age is nothing but a number. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you decide to. So very proud of my mom, and she has just been a great example for me when it comes to being independent and using all your talents. You know, she plays piano, she sings, and so I saw her doing all this stuff growing up. I was like, well, I can do it too. My mom does it successfully, and I'm just so blessed. Yeah.
yeah, she's just an amazing role model, and I mean that makes it easier too when you have a mom like that, and you're like, okay, I've got a job, I've got, you know, I've been married, I've got all this thing going on. Oh yeah, I think I want to do stand up comedy because I remember, you know,
Yeah.
I did that to my dad. I said, yeah, I want to be an editorial cartoonist, and to his credit, I was like 8. You know, he looked at
Hmm.
me like I was from Mars, but he patted me on the head and he said, you're going to be the best one ever. And that's
Mm.
kind of the way your mom is too. You knew that she had your back whenever you made that announcement that you were going to blow your life up and try to start over.
Yeah, there's never been an ounce of discouragement from my mom. You know, of course she might look at a friend and be like, I don't think you need to fool with her. She's not sitting well in my spirit, you know. But as it relates to doing things, pursuing dreams, chasing dreams, she's been 1,000% supportive, and she's the type who will DM Oprah, and she's like, you need to Google my baby. That's how my mom is. I mean,
Yeah.
she has the receipts. I remember I was in high school. She sent an email to Sheila E. You know, she's like, your protege is out here, Sheila. You need to meet her. And there was like a generic email response, but my mom does a lot of stuff behind my back to try to get me to the next level. So she's always been very supportive. And I often joke, like, if at any point if I decide to just start stripping, she would probably clean the pole for me. You know, like she's
Yeah.
that supportive. Yes.
Uh, um, sorry, I just there was all kind of mental images just bouncing around there, and whew, okay, okay,
That's a supportive mama.
yes, it is. It is. Well, I
Hmm.
mean, that's the thing. And with you and I talk to a lot of kids about dreams and stuff like that. And I use you as an example a lot because,
Thank you.
but well, I mean, so many people I know, they think, well, I'm going to do this. And then they just jump into it and literally drown, or not literally
Mm.
drown, but they drown because they're not
Hmm.
close enough to the dock. They're not doing the work ahead of time. Talk a little bit about that process when you decided in your head, okay, I'm going to become a stand-up comedy. You didn't like say, oh, I'm going to go get in front of 1,000 people right away. You started small and you
Hmm.
started doing baby steps to get to where you are today.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. For a while, I didn't even want people to call me a comedian. When they would put that on flyers, comedian Rita Brent, I'm like, I just started doing comedy. I am not a comedian. I've not done the work. I've not gone to school. I've not been trained. At the time, I was doing my research. I was watching the YouTube videos of Red Fox and Eddie Murphy and trying to figure out the craft. So for a while, I didn't even want to be called a comedian. But, I think we live in a society where there's this idea that people are overnight successes. Tiffany Haddish is the person that comes to mind for me. Folks were like, oh, she was in Girls Trip, and then all of a sudden she's famous. Well, no, Tiffany's been doing stand-up comedy since she was 16 years old.
Yeah.
She's in her late 30s now, early 40s. So this idea that you're an overnight success just because you're in a movie, that's not how it works. Tiffany had to put in the work and overcome a lot of obstacles to get where she is now, especially as a Black female in the industry. I experienced that. Like, that's another thing I credit my mom for, is because I was a girl and she knew I would be the minority on the drum set, and she said, play anyway. This is actually, you're going to stand out because you're a girl. So yeah, it is a process. Nothing, I don't think anything good comes overnight, because when build up you don't build yourself up, and that opportunity comes, and you get something, and then you're not ready for it. It's premature. Like, folks who go viral and all of a sudden they're like, well, what do I do? Do I need a manager? What am I? Who am I?
Yeah.
It's because they haven't put in the work. It just happenstance they went viral. So the process is slow, but the results will be worthy if you just take your time and trust the process and do the work.
And you seem to enjoy the process, and I think that's important too. Because if you're having to
Hmm.
you put in the hours and you put in I mean, you're traveling, you're busy, and everything else. If you didn't like what you're doing, and you got up on stage, it would show.
Yeah, now I'm not going to say that sometimes I don't get a little discouraged or uh, diffident, because I do see folks going viral over what I consider goofy things. And I'm like, man, I'm sitting here putting in all this work. But I also believe that your path is your path. And it's very dangerous to start being envious or coveting what somebody else has, because you don't know what they went through to get to that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do enjoy putting in the work and seeing the results and knowing that I actually did the work to get it. I want to earn it. I don't want something to be given to me because I'm Black. I don't want something to be given to me because I'm a woman. I want there to be the evidence. This is what Rita did. This is why she was able to earn this particular status. So it can be a little challenging sometimes, because you feel like you're not moving as fast as you need to. But when you look over it, when you look back at your catalog, you're like, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm
Well,
right where I'm supposed to be.
right. I can look back at your resume and look at all the things you've done, and every piece of that everything you've done. I don't know how playing basketball quite fits into everything at this point, but maybe that's just working
Hmm.
on a team. But I mean, everything you have done is now like you're doing music. So you've got, like I said, the new song out. So you're doing music,
Hmm.
and I didn't realize you were as good a singer as you are. You're really a good singer.
Thank you.
Which,
Thanks to my mom. Yeah.
yeah, no, I was, I knew you were musical, and I knew you play gigs, and I knew you were a heck of a drummer, but I did not knew you could sing, and you can. But I mean, but that's the thing. It's like you have a toolbox of talents, and
Hmm.
you can pull them out and do them. But I think you have to have that these days to be able to suffer. I mean, to suffer, to survive, and on top of
Yeah,
that,
I think you can relate to that too, because you encouraged me when you were like, well, I do the cartoons, but I do motivational speaking too. And I was like, oh, yeah, I never really thought about that, using your gift and your art in another form. You have to figure out how to channel it into different things. And for a while, I was opposed to that, because somebody told me when I was in college, he was like, you're talented to a fault. you're not going to know what to pick, and you just need to
Yeah.
pick one thing. So you just need to pick one thing, and so I internalized that. And then as I got older, I was like, well, I can't just do one thing. If I have the ability to do multiple things, if I feel like doing music, I'm going to do it. If I feel like doing comedy, I'm going to do it. If I feel like doing motivational speaking, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to be limited and put in a box. And
Right.
so that's something you taught me, when you were just talking about expanding beyond the cartoon and being behind the scenes. You're in front of the scenes too as a motivational speaker. That's
Well,
important.
I mean, here's the thing, and I mean, when I started out, I wanted to be an editorial cartoonist, and there
Mhm.
were 200 of them in the country when I wanted to do that, which means that you walk up to your parents and say, "Oh, I want a job where there's more NBA basketball players than there are jobs and what I want to do." But and I managed to get my dream job, but then the
Mhm.
newspaper business blew up, and guess what? My dream job started to evaporate. But
Mhm.
because that had happened, and that's why I always tell people that when bad things happen, and I think you've pivoted really well during the dynamic for this reason. When bad things happen, that's when you start looking. You don't. It's not what happens to you; it's how you respond to it. And I started looking around
Right.
for opportunities. I mean, I fell into a radio show back at another network that I don't. I mean, I'm at Public Broadcasting now doing the show, but I worked in another one. Did for 5 days a week, 3 hours a day. I didn't know what I was doing, but I learned how to
Mhm.
do broadcasting. And then I learned how to do stuff online and video and started. So the bottom line is all these things that I thought were, me just trying to stay alive, it turned into me developing a toolbox. And it's been fun watching you because you're not afraid to try something. I mean, you've really made your mark on social media. You and I will both agree social media is an angel on one shoulder and Satan on the other. You
I'm
know,
gonna say it's more. I'm gonna say it's more satanic than angelic. Marshall, I promise you, if I could get off social media today, I would. That's
yeah.
how much That's how much I
I'm surprised
dislike
the
it.
amount of hate sometimes people throw at you. And, I mean, I get my fair share too, but I think women,
Yeah.
number one, get probably 10 times more than male. Um,
Yeah. Well, but my question to you is, when we post something on social media, and let's just say we have 500 comments, and 499 of those are positive,
yeah.
why is it that one negative comment that makes me want to come find you and bop you upside the head? Why is it? Why does that
It is,
one negative comment get to us?
it's human psychology. Larry David had the same thing. He was in Yankee Stadium. They show his picture up on the screen. There's 30,000 people in the stadium. They all give him a big rounding standing ovation. He's going out on the subway. Somebody yells, "You suck." And he said
Mhm.
that bothered him for the rest of the night. It's the same thing. It's just normal human nature, I mean, I don't know if it's some kind
Yeah.
of demon we have or what the deal is, but maybe it's
Yeah,
that.
social media, they're all just challenging to me because I just can't believe people are really like this. I personally have never gone on anybody's page to say something ugly about them or to criticize them. And I see some pretty ridiculous things. I'm talking about outfits. I see paintings that are wild and horrible. But I'm not going to go under your post and say, this is horrible, because I'm just not that kind of person. So what it does, it makes me question people. It makes me question humanity a little bit. So I try to find that balance. I take breaks from social media, but I can't take too many breaks because then you'll lose your enthusiasm. So it's a slippery slope. I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know how you're balancing it, but it's a struggle for me.
It is a rabbit hole, and you have to be careful because you have to do the work first. I mean, social media,
Yes.
you can spend 18 hours a day on social media and get your
Hmm.
dopamine fix, but that doesn't do you any good because if you're not writing jokes or you're not drawing cartoons or you're not doing whatever, then you have nothing to promote. Because really,
Right.
honestly, I mean, anybody can write posts on social media, but it's hard to put a really cool video about potholes on there or raw boo boo, which by the way is one of the funniest damn things you've ever done. Just to let you know that. For those of you who
Who
don't know, we
knew?
have a councilman in Jackson who's was talking about raw boo boo in people's houses, and so Rita did probably one of the funniest videos in the history of man on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was in Jackson and people were coming up to me like, I love your Raw Boo Boo song. And other people are looking like, what? Who's singing about Raw Boo Boo? So, but it's not my words. I'm just doing my job.
No, you're just doing your job. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, don't you think right now that we need comedy more than ever?
Yes.
Everybody's lost
And
their mind.
And to be honest with you, before I did that Raw Boo Boo song, I was speaking with my wife about the actual issues in Jackson and how I was bothered by people attacking the mayor because I'm like, some of you guys have no idea. A lot of you have no idea what it's like being a mayor. You've never been in that position. So some of the criticism that they give, not just the mayor, but politicians in general, it confuses me. And so I was bothered by it. Yeah. And I told my wife, I said, I don't say it again.
That's what I do for a living.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm just
And
kidding.
but I told my wife, I said, I don't know if I should say anything. And my barber too. And he said, well, no, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to bring joy in times of seriousness, just to reel it back in. And so I ended up doing it. But yeah, when I get responses like, well, I was depressed and your video uplifted me, or I had a migraine and now I feel better, or I'm going through chemo and I'm watching all of your YouTube videos in the hospital, that is a sign to me that I need to keep doing it. It's not for the people that are hating. It's for the people who get it and who do appreciate the art. So yeah, we definitely need comedy. Definitely.
Oh,
All day, every day.
definitely. And that's one of the things I always tell people with the cartoons. I said, they're like, how come you make fun of people all the time? I said, no, you got to understand it. I'm making fun of life in general. But I mean, my point is, I don't care if somebody agrees with me or disagrees with me. I just want them to think about the topic. And
That's right.
if you can get them to pay attention or laugh or look at it or even get mad, then suddenly they're going to pay attention. The deal with the water in Jackson. Yeah, I mean, it is easy to blame the mayor, but this is a problem that's been going on for decades because nobody's wanted to put any money into the ground, because no politician in their whole right mind wants to spend money on infrastructure because it's not sexy, and
Right.
so suddenly in Jackson with our cast iron million-year-old pipes and Yazoo clay in cold weather, I mean, you've got poor folks, I mean, poor both economically and poor people, bless their hearts, having to fill up the back of their toilet with creek water. And that gets to be a problem. So, but
Yeah.
it was still funny as hell. I have to admit, that was really a good video. So
Thank you. I did it right here in this office.
nice. You got the hat?
Yeah. This is it. This is the hat that I wore in the video.
Yeah, I have. Now, Councilman Kenny Stokes is who she's referring to. Has a hat with his own name on it, which I want one of those hats, by the way. I do put
yeah, I do too. Yeah. Everybody's like, has he heard the song? I'm like, I don't know. I don't think he's gonna call me and say, hey, I enjoyed the song. I don't know. I just hope he doesn't come for me in his next press conference.
Yeah, but he'd be protesting you, so if he didn't like it as well. So, like I said, let's talk a little bit about big breaks in a little bit, because you did mention that a little bit earlier about, suddenly people that go viral or whatever on that. I think success is long-term. It's more about little breaks along the way and being able to handle those little breaks and so forth. I mean, when you had the Kevin Hart special, I mean, I seriously thought that was somebody lighting the bottle rocket for you on that one, but it did open a lot of doors. And I mean, your friendship with Ricky Smiley has been invaluable, just because of it put you in front of crowds and so forth. But he was a good mentor too, and he was able to teach you a lot about the business. Talk about that. Talk about how those little breaks matter when you're trying to become successful.
Well, in comedy, it's almost as if any kind of exposure counts. Something you think is little and passive and this won't be a big deal. There's somebody in that audience who can help you and get you to the next level. So with the Comedy Central thing, it just got me on their radar, and here's another story. After I did the Comedy Central thing with Kevin Hart, I was in the running to get a 30-minute special on his other show he was doing. And I ended up not getting it. And I was crushed. Yeah. And when I looked back, I was not ready for the moment. I still needed to go through some things. I still needed to improve my set. And I'm ready now, but I wasn't ready then. And so it's like, well, what if I had gotten it then and I wasn't prepared for the moment? That could have been pretty harmful. So yeah, just the exposure, getting on their radar has been awesome. Comedy Central, to this day, they still share my set from the Kevin Hart thing. And then that brings in new followers and that brings in new bookings. And with Ricky Smiley as well, being on tour with him, when he shares my things on social media, it exposes me in a good way to people who didn't know I existed. So yeah, all of these little things add to something big. I did the American Black Film Festival in 2018. I got first runner up, but that led me to meeting Kim Whitley. That led me to meeting all of these freaking stars, Yvonne Orji, Bob Sumner, who was the co-creator of Def Jam, and Bob ended up helping me get my agent in New York. And so it's all just like a little puzzle coming together, and this is the 1,000-piece puzzle for me. That's the puzzle I want, the 1,000, because that's going to be more impressive when it's done. I don't want the big gigantic piece puzzle where it's like, too quick. Then you don't have anything to show for it. So yeah, I'm on the 1,000-piece puzzle, and I don't know where I am on it. Maybe half or a fourth to it being complete. But yes, those little breaks do lead to the big things.
Yeah, my problem is my 1,000-piece puzzle is like all snow. So all the pieces look just alike, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself. But I think you touched on something there too. And when you feel like you're ready for the big break, but a lot of this is people don't believe in you unless you believe in yourself first.
Yes, that's one
That's
thing
hard.
social media
Yeah.
have taught me,
Yeah.
that
That's hard.
you can listen. I've seen some horrible content on social media, but those people present themselves with the most confidence.
Yeah.
Like, I know who I am, I know where I want to go, and then people buy into it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you don't realize that you are the hindrance. You are the thing holding you back with your self-doubt and your overthinking, and you're worrying about who's going to say what. The thing is to just do it. Like I tell my wife, you have to take the first step. The only difference between those who are up here and those who are not is that they aren't taking the risks. It was a risk for me to leave MPB. My grandmother was like, don't leave. It's stable. You have insurance. And I'm just like, I
You
got to
got
leave.
to work with me.
Yeah, right. But I say I have to leave. I don't want to stay in this comfortable
Yeah.
bubble.
Right.
And it was hard because I loved my job at MPB. I didn't have any complaints, but I knew that there was more for me, and I can always come back to radio, but you have to take those risks if you want the big results.
Yeah, but you did a lot of work while you were at MPB to get to the point where you could leave too. You didn't just one day say,
Hmm.
"All right, I'm out of here." I mean, you literally were doing the grind while you were there. I mean, you would come in some days, and I remember you were just exhausted because you'd been working
Hmm.
really hard. But you knew where you were going, and you were trying to get there. And then just that one day, you realize, oh, the ship is right next to the dock. I can make the jump now.
Yeah. And also I'm a big proponent of writing out your goals. Like at the beginning of the year, I wrote out this big list of goals, and these
Really?
are my plans. This is the amount of time that I want to give myself to accomplish these things. I'm definitely not saying be reckless and quit your job tomorrow if you don't have a financial cushion. I was saving money. I had things lined up. I was branding. So it is a process, but you have to think about, like, write down, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it, so you can have some kind of guide as you go through, because you're going to need it.
Let's talk about those goals for a second. Where would you like to be, say, in 10 years?
Marshall, I really am concerned about the next 10 months. I don't know what the world is going to be like in 10 years. I will be 44 in 10 years. I would like to be retired. I am not the type who wants to work until I can't work anymore. I want to retire, and I told my wife we want to move to a warm climate. Virgin Islands, Jamaica, somewhere where we can just relax and eat good food and sit on the beach. I have to get some beach water in my life at some point. So yeah, at age 44, 10 years from now, I honestly hope to be retired. But we did say that we're going to move back to Mississippi during retirement, so I don't know about that.
Maybe you can get you a condo or something here.
Yeah, yeah. But I probably will get back in radio, because that's the least stressful thing. It's pretty cut and dry. You go there for your hours, and then you get to go home and you go back and do it again. Um,
So you
so
need,
yeah.
yeah, you need to do podcasting though. Now the question is, will you be able to get to a point with the podcast to be able to make the revenue to where you be able to survive? And a radio is kind of a little bit easier, but the nice thing about a podcast, you can control your own schedule.
Yeah, like, yeah, I would love to get to Joe Rogan status.
Yeah.
He's freaking killing it. And yeah, I'm with you on that. I like the podcast arena too. I don't have to worry about doing drives and all of that where you have to ask people for money. You can do a little ad here or there and say a few choice words if you please. So yeah, you're right about the podcast, and I wonder, is radio going extinct? Do you feel like that? Is your listenership still strong on MPB?
Yeah, it's funny. I think MPB, and I can't tell you overall, but I mean, I feel like my show's done okay. It's still hanging in there. Um, Michelle, who replaced you, she's been a good producer, and that's helped too. But I think we're like fourth of all 15 shows or something. But
Mm-hmm.
we do really well on podcasts. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
actual show repeats have been doing really well. I think
Yeah.
there's a niche with public radio as opposed to maybe just regular terrestrial radio. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know my kids listen to podcasts. And
Yeah.
they like listen, plug it in their car and drive and listen to podcasts and stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting. And I just think it's important to keep your toe. I'm one of those kind of people that one thing that I learned with the collapse of the newspaper business is that if you're not changing, you're dying. You know,
Yeah.
I really
Absolutely.
feel like I should be doing Morgan Freeman, get busy living, or get busy dying impersonation at this
Mm-hmm.
point, but I can't do that kind of impersonation because Morgan Freeman's too awesome. But the point is, I mean, really honestly, for me, I just think about what can I do when I throw it out there. And I think the main thing is if it doesn't work, you cut it right away
Mm-hmm.
and move on.
Right.
You don't fall in love with what you're doing because I think
Right.
that makes a huge difference on that. Let's talk a little bit about the creative process. Because me that fascinates me, the fact that you do what you do and that I can kind of do what I do. I know for me personally that I feel like I live in this world right here, and everything
Mm-hmm.
outside of it is where all my ideas come from. And
Mm-hmm.
the main thing is breaking this barrier to get through it, to grab the idea and pull it in. And if I'm tired
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm stressed out or anything else, that's when this becomes literally Kevlar to be able to get through that. Sometimes caffeine
Mm-hmm.
helps, or whatever to get through that. Talk about your creative process. Is this something that, and I will say one more thing about mine is I think it's like running or exercise. If the more you do it, the easier it gets. So the hardest time for me to come up with ideas is if I haven't done it for 2 weeks. I took a
Mm-hmm.
vacation or whatever. I don't, as much as I need to get rested, I know I can't rest too much or I become fallow. Just the whole
Right.
idea thing. For you, you've got so many components on what you're doing. I mean, literally, you almost need an air traffic controller figuring out, okay, I got to go to Jackson and film a commercial here. I need to go to New York for a gig up here. I've got a taping down here. When do you find time to write? And do you find that busy schedule kind of kills your muse or does it help your muse?
Well, for me, I just made a decision to never turn off my creative radar. Um, Even when I am sleeping, I am dreaming about jokes. When I'm in the shower, I'm going through a set. When I'm driving, like when I was driving back from Jackson, I laid a foundation for 4 songs because I'm gonna do a CD at some point. But I don't turn my creative radar off. And I think that helps me. It could be harmful as well because it's like, well, when do you rest mentally? I try to do that on the weekend every once in a while. My wife is like, let's go get mimosas. So that's fine. I'll take a break then. But I heard that from Cat Williams. He was saying in order to be successful, your comedy radar needs to be on at all times. And for me, it's a comedy radar, it's a commercial radar, it's a music radar, it's all these radars. And I write down everything. My notes app is full. I send messages to myself on Facebook. I send voice memo messages to myself. I don't believe in giving an idea the opportunity to be lost. I will pull over on the interstate. If something comes to me, I will pull over on the interstate and write it down because you never know. This could be the idea, that catapults you to where you need to go. But you say you drink caffeine. When I get stressed out, I actually eat hot Cheetos and hot fries. That's a sign that our Rita is stressed out.
See, now,
Um,
I got to tell you this: if I ate Cheetos and hot fries, this screen would not be wide enough for my face. Just let you know that.
well, this is the funny thing. Talking about the creative process. My wife discovered this about me that one of the reasons I'm so skinny is because of my anxiety. I have performance anxiety, and I go to the bathroom like 3 to 5 times before I perform. So you do the math. I've done about 70 virtual shows since March. Before each of those shows, I went 3 to 5 times. And she's like, that's why you are skinny, because you release all of that stuff
The
before your
raw boo
shows.
is a
Yeah, the raw boo boo. That's what comes out 3 to 5 times before I
You
perform.
still have
Um,
performance anxiety? Seriously?
yeah, I don't think it's ever going to go anywhere. It's hereditary. My mom has it. And
Huh.
Ricky Smiley once told me, he told me that when you are not nervous, you need to be worried because that
Right.
means that you don't care.
Well,
And so I was like, well, I definitely care.
I agree with you. I mean, if I get in front of 1,000 people, I'm going to be anxious. But that's to me,
Hmm.
that's just energy that you can use for the performance. you know,
Hmm.
I mean,
And I try to.
and I think that's it. But no, I'm kind of glad I don't have that problem you do. Of course, the biggest problem I have is working from the home. The refrigerator is right there.
Uh, right.
It
Grab something real quick.
exactly. I got about 25 pounds of pandemic pound weight, you know, saying hello.
Yeah. Say, I know everybody's been saying they've been gaining pandemic pounds, and I have not. I'm like right between 99 and 102. I can still wear my clothes from middle school. I just don't really grow.
I thought
I just
99
don't really grow.
is what temperature you liked it.
That too. Yeah. So maybe that's all lining up. They're aligned.
It's
But talking about the creative process, it's so different for everyone because I talk to comedians who say they get on stage and they improvise and they don't know which direction they're going to go.
yeah,
When I tell you I have a list, army jokes, relationship jokes, political jokes, racial jokes, that's what my outline looks like before I go on stage.
yeah,
And I was reading Tommy Davidson's book, and I believe he said Jay Leno or one of those older comedians was saying that not having your notes on stage is almost a disservice to your audience, because if you forget something, then you didn't give them all that you intended to give.
yeah.
And so I had to, that was comforting for me because I'm a notes person, so I write everything. I can improvise, but for me, I have to write my ideas, I have to see them, and then I can implement them.
You know how I do it with my speaking is that I've got cartoons. I use cartoons to obviously illustrate the points that I'm drawing. I mean, I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about, and so for me, that's my outline. So every time I
Mm,
see a cartoon, I know what's going to be next on my set list and what I'm talking about. So it works out
mm-hmm.
on that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's,
good.
it's interesting because I talk to authors that are that way. Some authors are like, oh yeah, I'm like J.K. Rowling. I've never talked to her, but she literally planned out every Harry Potter book all the way through the end of the series. And then you have
Mm-hmm.
others going, well, I think of some characters, and then I just go on a journey. It's just it's
Go
just
on a
weird
journey.
how it happens. It really is.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. I guess however it works for you.
Works for you, yeah.
Um, yeah. Now, with comedy, the process, there's usually a little formula. You have the setup and the meat and then the punchline. So there's a way to do it. I know some comedians who feel like you can't teach comedy. It just has to come naturally to you. And if I think about it, I've been the funny person since I was young, but I think if you have a desire to do something, you could do it.
Yeah. You know, you talk about comedians that you tried to learn from. You read Tommy's book, and I mean, obviously you've worked with several comedians. For me, I learned how to be a cartoonist not by going to art school. I learned it by just looking at other cartoonists and trying to, and I
Hmm.
didn't copy their style directly, but it influenced my style and made it grow. Name a couple of comedians along the way that have really made a difference in your style.
Style wise, um, I love Wanda Sykes' style. I think she has a good balance of talking about politics, a little bit about race, a little bit about love. She's gonna say exactly what's on her mind. I love her delivery. And her story is kind of like mine. She got divorced from a man. Now she's married to a woman. We don't have twins or anything. We have plants. We don't have any other kids. But yeah, Wanda Sykes is one. Roy Wood Jr. is somebody who I really love. And of course, Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle is like on another level. He's doing TED Talk comedy.
Yeah, he
You
really.
know,
Yeah,
most people just can't pull that off. Like you have to really have something to say to pull off Dave's style. But I like his content and how he approaches topics. And the big thing I learned from Ricky Smiley, and it was so simple when he said it, and I didn't realize how important it was. He always just tells me to have fun. And I thought, wait, I'm not having fun. And I thought about, I was like, I'm not having fun. I'm militaristic up here.
yeah,
And so when I started internalizing that idea to just have fun in what I do, if you're the type who can have fun, if you're a medical doctor, don't have fun.
yeah.
But Ricky told me to just have fun, just be relaxed. And that was really, really helpful too. And that's what he does on stage. I mean, Ricky is so physical. Oh my God, he's been doing comedy for 30 years and he is all over the stage, all in the crowd. He's just having fun. It's an experience. So that has been really helpful for me too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely don't want your brain surgeon to have too much fun, I guess, but you also don't want them going
Nah,
through a divorce and being audited by the IRS or, having,
nah.
Yeah, too much
Might
dip.
be a little distracted.
They
Yeah, a
might
little
might have their
distracted.
hand shaking, maybe into being a caffeine addict. Well, I
Yeah.
don't want to take that much more of your time, although I could do this all day. It's just good to catch up with you and visit with you. I mean, I'm really proud of you and what all you're achieving. Um,
Thank you. Nice kitchen too. I like the little
yeah,
backsplash.
cool.
That's
Yeah,
cute.
it worked out really nice. I got running back here and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely, the kitchen's probably nice, and I've been really proud of Pip, my dog, who was
Hmm.
through this whole interview and not barked once. So you know,
Well, so how did you determine that's where you wanted to set up virtually? Because I just saw all the smart people on CNN and on the news with the bookcase. I said, oh, I'm gonna put my bookcase back here so I can look smart too.
yeah,
So how did you determine that setting?
okay. Well, technically, I mean, I could do I'll do a 360. I've got windows
Okay.
that look outside, which that's not
Hmm.
bad either. I like that, although the windows are a little bright. It's better at night. I've got
Yeah.
bookshelves. So I've got some choices. Actually, the studio I've got at Mississippi Today that we're gonna build out a little bit more will be nice when we
Hmm.
get to the point where we can actually, leave the house kind of thing. But I
Yeah.
think this
Or you
is
can go outside again.
I think I agree with you about the Zoom thing in the sense that, I mean, I do a lot of talking around the state, and this
Hmm.
just, and I have to, there are parts of me that miss the windshield time, but
Yeah.
this is nice because I can get up 15 minutes before I'm supposed to speak somewhere and I don't have to drive for 4 hours, to go
Yes.
into the state.
Definitely getting spoiled. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely getting spoiled. Me flying around and trying to catch flights and missing flights and somebody coughing on the flight scaring me half to
Have you
death.
taken a flight?
Uh,
Have you taken a flight since all this has began?
I have. I've only been flying Delta because they're leaving the middle seats open, and
Yeah.
so that helps. That helps me. But yeah, it's really weird. I like it. One time I was asleep and my mask fell off while I was asleep, and I woke up and the flight attendant was standing over me. Put your mask on. I was like, I fell asleep. Like, what you want me to do?
But you should be back
So
to you now and giving you, a cookie or something.
yeah, but I mean, shout out to the flight attendants. They are getting into fights trying to enforce the mask rules.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not trying to do a whole lot of flying right now until things calm down because folks are not being honest. They're getting on the plane with the COVID and not saying that they have it. Did you hear about the man who died on the plane? He had COVID. He died on the plane.
Yeah. Well, here's the
Yeah.
thing. I don't. This is the thing on the comedy thing. And I found myself when we all collectively sat down and watched George Floyd getting murdered on television,
Hmm.
and we saw the turmoil after that, and then you saw people not having conversations. One thing I've always enjoyed about being your friend is I feel like you could be brutally honest to me, and I could be pretty honest to you, and but it was
Hmm.
like we were just screaming past each other. Nobody was listening to each other on this whole thing. And then you have the COVID stuff, you had the political stuff that went on, which was, I don't know about you, but I mean, I literally, toward the end of last year, found myself kind of getting caught up in a funk, just because of all this
Yeah.
I couldn't control. And my thing, and when I had cancer, I mean, I learned to laugh at things that drive me crazy. That's always been my defense mechanism. And it was like, at the end of 2020, I was just worn out. And 2021 has kind of turned into its own brand of, show, Rob
Hmm.
Boo Boo show. And so, what are ways that you would recommend to protect yourself from that? Because you are commenting on those things and you are laughing at some of that stuff, but I know you're ticked off. I mean, I know you
Yeah.
got to be ticked off. I mean, I'm ticked off. So how do you keep?
Yeah.
Because when your brand is I'm funny all the time, how do you keep from screaming at people when you want to just grab them by the neck and do this every single day?
Well, I take a few approaches. One of the most underestimated things to me is vulnerability. A lot of times when I'm in a funk, I'm feeling upset or bothered by something, I will get on Facebook Live and vent.
Yeah,
I will straight vent. I will be transparent. I will remind people that I'm human and I have feelings as well. And I'll share my story because that helps. When people see you as up here, they put you on a pedestal, they see you as a celebrity, they think you're invincible or something, or you don't have feelings. So I remind people that I'm human. I'll just be transparent on social media. I also take breaks. I have to take breaks and engage and indulge in self care. I
yeah,
get massages, I get pedicures, I drink a little wine. Self care is really important, and they have therapeutic massages that can help you ease your brain. And then the other thing is, I try to stay spiritually grounded. that is a relationship that you cannot abandon when you're dealing with so many voices. There's all this information coming at you news wise. When you're on somebody's timeline, you're kind of adopting their feelings, because the way I see it, I'm on there, somebody is angry and then I feel myself getting angry, so you have to stay grounded and know who you are and know what you need to sustain spiritually and emotionally. Otherwise, people will just pull you, and they'll have you like a contortionist. They'll pull you in every kind of way, have you questioning who you are. So you got to stay grounded. So those are some of the things I do.
I'm going to take notes on that, especially
What about you?
with the wine and massage. I tell you what, number one, I kind of closed in my circle. We have a nice enough house that I really enjoy the nature that's around where I am. That's helped a lot. Meditation has been a godsend and a lifesaver for the creative thing. I've been doing creative projects for myself that that nobody ever sees, that I don't do it for money or to post on Facebook for likes or anything like that. And so, because I want to make sure I'm always in love with what I do, because my dad loved to work on cars, and he bought a car garage and had it for, I guess, 20 years, and our cars never ran because he didn't want to come home and work on the cars, And so I don't ever want to get to the point where me drawing something or me getting up and talking to people is a chore. I always want to, I just watched the show Ted Lasso on Apple Plus. Fantastic show, brilliant writing, very smart. There was a scene in there where Ted Lasso, they're throwing darts and he beats the bad guy, not to spoil too much. But he has a line, he said, people always used to underestimate me. They pick on me. And one day I was driving my son to school and I saw a quote from Walt Whitman that says, be curious, not judgmental. And I was just like, whoa, okay. So that's kind of my goal, is to always be curious. And that's why we're doing this show for Mississippi Today. That's why I like doing the radio show. It's like why I do the TV show. I don't know how good I am at it, but I always am curious. I want to see what makes people tick and hear their stories and so forth. And I think as long as I remember that and try to, there are a lot of a-holes in the world, but the main thing, you don't have to go to where they congregate and hang out.
That's right.
And so, and I mean, I like social media and I like the conversations. And I mean, I actually went to London and met a lady with the same kind of dog that I had, that I'd been following on Twitter because she had the same kind of dog I had. And she was delightful. And we're now friends.
Because it can connect. That's some good.
But I'm like you, I'm not going to sit there and gravitate on the other, and I got to take time to be able to get that. And it gets hard because I think when you're creative, you have the propensity of having depression, because I think really very fertile soil can grow great crops and it can grow great weeds. And, so you got to do the work, and you got to maybe occasionally put a little chemicals on it to keep the weeds down, get out there with a hoe and start beating at the weeds. And that's how you keep sane during this whole thing. That's my
and I forgot to tell you, I do block a lot of people.
Yeah.
I am all about protecting my peace.
About it. Yeah.
You don't have to have access to me, so I block a lot of folks. I don't go back and forth with them. I made a decision to not respond to negative comments and things because I feel like I give them power. If I respond to you, that means I'm validating what you're saying. And so I just decided to not respond to folks and let them take me down that rabbit hole. I'm just going to block you. But you also have to be kind to yourself. Yeah. You cannot depend on other folks to be kind. You have to be kind to yourself, give yourself grace, because you're right. It is challenging as a creative. Sometimes you're really high and some days you're really low and you're like, what is going on? You know? So yeah, I just started taking up meditation as well. My wife is really into the spiritual stuff. She has crystals and sage all over the house, Palo Santo. She has an altar. And we spoke with a spiritual reader recently who told me I need to get my own altar. I need to do the meditating that will help me deal with my irritation with social media. So
also too, throw out quickly your social and all your Facebook and all that good stuff so everybody can.
Yeah, it's the same on all platforms. Rita Brent Comedy on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Rita Brent Comedy. And you can follow me on YouTube as well. I do this thing called the Rita Brent Report. It's a satirical take on the news. So if you want the news delivered to you in a funny, musical way. You can subscribe to my show, The Rita Brent Report, on YouTube. But Rita Brent comedy everywhere.
Everywhere. Rita,
Yes.
thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Proud of you. And I hope we talk a little bit more than the usual, but I know you've been busy and I've been busy, but I'm glad to catch up with you.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. I'll see you in the neighborhood.
All right. Sounds good. Bye.